Hello, my name is Michael Johnston. I am a doctoral student at Xiamen University, where I study law. I live in, I'm an American citizen, but I presently reside in China. I live in China at the moment. I wanted to make a little video to talk about the coronavirus. So, some perspective. The coronavirus has already killed maybe about 3,000 people worldwide so far, as of the making of this video. The seasonal flu has killed anywhere between 12,000 to 61,000 people every single year since 2010, and that's just in the USA. Okay? So, yes, the novel coronavirus is new, it's different. Yes, it can kill you. Yes, it's pretty contagious, but it is less lethal than the flu. You are more likely to die of the flu than you are to die of the coronavirus. Okay? So people need to stop freaking out. They need to stop pretending like this is stop overvaluing the estimation of this threat. Okay? The value of this threat is being overestimated on purpose by the institutions of power that be. They are, for their own purposes, are fanning the flames to make you afraid. Do not be that afraid. Yes, the greatest lie is the one that's partly true. Yes, this is a real threat. Yes, you should not take it lightly. Don't be cavalier. Take precautions, and the institutions of the world, such as the WHO, the United States government, the Chinese government, the United Nations, and other institutions of power should, as part of their mandate as leaders, care about this and take precautions against it for public safety, even if those precautions feel a little bit scary or inconvenience your everyday life. Okay? So they're good to do those things. However, the virus is not that deadly. You are not likely to die of it. The flu kills more people. And by the way, all of the fatalities that have occurred as a consequence of this virus are all in demographics that would be at risk of dying of flu virus anyway. We're talking about very, very young children who don't have an immune system, very, very elderly people above the age of 65, and people who are already dying anyway of something else, of cancer. So three types of demographics: very, very young, very, very old, and people who are already sick for another reason. Those are where in those demographics that we have seen all the fatalities so far. Okay? If you don't fall into those demographics, you are not going to die. If you do fall into those demographics, your chances of dying are less than it's less than 10%. You have like a 90% chance or more, probably much higher than that, of surviving. And that's if you get it. So, and it should be obvious why the fatalities are in those three groups, because obviously people who are in those three demographics have an underdeveloped or underfunctioning immune system. This is just basically, in layman's terms, the novel coronavirus is a new flu bug. That's what it is. It's another seasonal piece of crap. Every year, around this time of year, there'll be some new bug, comes out, infects people. That's what this is. They just happen to know the ground zero site of where it happened, unlike in other examples. And by the way, coronavirus. So what is the coronavirus? The coronavirus is not a species, but rather a genus or a family, from biology class, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Coronavirus is further up that ladder of nomenclature because it refers to a group of related organisms related viruses, all of whom have a common trait of having weird little spiky things for their antigens that look kind of like a crown, hence the Latin word for crown, coronavirus. There are other coronaviruses that are not novel, that have been around forever. And you know what those coronaviruses do? They give you the flu. Yeah, they give you the flu, or a kind of flu. So this is literally just a new kind of flu. That's all. It's a flu that, it is a newly evolved species of flu. Okay? So yeah, nobody's immune to it because it's new, but it's not really new in the sense of being it's not Ebola or AIDS or something like that. It's just some dumb crap. That said, you should not take it in a cavalier way and ignore it and not care about it. Now, I want to make some comments. So first of all, the Chinese Communist Party is to blame for this. So as much as I am not a Donald Trump supporter at all, and I do not like him, but I will defend him here and say that Trump and the Republicans are correct, essentially correct, when they point the finger at the Chinese Communist Party and say that they are to blame. How did this happen? Why is it the Chinese Communist Party's fault? Well, it's not the case that the Chinese government invented it or something like that. Even at this stage in human technology, we do not have the ability yet to just manufacture a new species of virus or a new species of anything for that matter. No, what happened was, in China, they have extremely lax health codes. Public sanitation in this country is just awful. And that's down to a corrupt and just stupid, quite frankly, regime that on paper they have a lot of good laws about how to combat pollution and lack of sanitation and lack of hygiene in public, but they don't enforce it at all. And if you've ever read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, classical novel, then you have an idea of what China is like when you go to these like street markets and wet markets. I mean, they're just atrocious. And what happened was, in the city of Wuhan, they have one of those, like in every city, I mean just down the street from where I live, they have places like this where, you know, people, hunters and farmers will come and sell meat and vegetables. Sometimes they farm them, sometimes they hunt them. And in China, in Chinese culture, they happen to have a wider variety of food. They like to eat bats and snakes in addition to the stuff that other kinds of cultures like to eat. And a virus, not because there's nothing wrong, by the way, with eating bats and snakes if you want to eat them, but like anything else, you have to clean the meat, you have to clean the animal the meat comes from, and be in hygienic and sanitary conditions, and they just weren't. So a virus that normally only infects bats was able to jump over the species barrier into first a snake and then into people. And that's where it comes from. So it's a newly evolved species. It's 99.999% identical to the ancestor species, which infected bats, but this one infects people. So because it's a new virus, nobody's ever had it before, so nobody's immune to it. But it's just a new species, and it crossed over the species barrier due to the lack of hygiene, because conditions were allowed to prevail that enabled the virus to evolve. That's what happened. And why did those conditions prevail? Because the government of this country, the government of China, does not care about public sanitation and does not pull its weight. So it is their fault, but they did not they did not genetically engineer a new virus. So that's the other thing I want to say. These conspiracy theories that the virus was created on purpose by somebody, the communists, the Republicans, the Democrats, the Al-Qaeda, the Russia, whoever, nobody invented this virus. It's an outbreak of a newly evolved species of virus that falls into a larger genus of similar species, many of which already infect us, and this one just does the same shit that the other ones do. It's just new, so you don't have any immunity to it yet. After you catch it, you'll get immunity to it. So But that's not to say you should go out there and get infected. But that's what it is. So yes, the Chinese Communist Party is to blame. But no, they didn't do it on purpose, and no, that neither did anybody else. It's an accident. Now, now that I just got done defending Trump, let me now criticize him, because Trump and the Republicans, much like the Chinese Communist Party over here in China, are capitalizing on this pandemic for their own purposes. They overestimate the value of this threat to amp up the trade war. Now, I live in China, and I know for a fact that China, as the regime anyway, are bad faith actors. They take advantage of the countries they trade with, including America. And as much as I hate to say it, Trump kind of has a point in his trade war. I don't agree with his tactics, but it's correct to say that China does take advantage of the U.S. economically, as they do with other countries. But that being said, that has nothing to do with the virus, and it's highly immoral of Trump and the Republicans to capitalize on this situation to amp up the trade war and to accelerate their agenda regarding it. That's just very foul. So the Chinese Communist Party, okay, the Chinese Communist Party did not genetically engineer the virus. Neither did anybody else. The virus is not as threatening as you might believe, and the trade war is a red herring with regard. They're not connected and should not be used in that sense. But that said, on the other hand, the Republicans and Donald Trump are essentially correct to blame the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party is at fault. So those two things are true. And by the way, the Chinese Communist Party also, they also capitalize on this situation and overestimate the value of this threat for their own purposes too. So in China, we have to wear masks when we go outside. I made a little video. I'm going to post that about me, the things I have to do when I leave the home. And they take your temperature at checkpoints all over town, and you can't go inside certain places if you don't wear a mask. And they check your temperature. All of these precautions that the Chinese Communist Party is pushing are very dubious, very, very dubious efficacy. They don't really do anything. Taking your temperature might help, at least it's real, but the virus is asymptomatic for the first couple weeks, so you could catch the virus and not have a fever. So doing that doesn't really do anything, and the masks are a placebo. They're just a total red herring. All of these precautions the Chinese are pushing on people over here are just a giant red herring that are just designed to make the mob. Okay, Rome is the mob. That's the Chinese Communist way of thinking about people. Make the mob feel like the party is doing something, when in reality they're not really doing very much. What they are doing is just giving people the impression that they're acting on this issue, and so that people will be lulled into a false sense of security, and also so they can surveil you more, because this is a surveillance state and they surveil the crap out of you. So I just wanted to say all of these things. Okay, don't be cavalier. Make sure to take precautions and stay safe, but don't freak out. Stop with the conspiracy theories. Stop with the racism towards Chinese people. Okay, but yes, you should. It is the case that the CCP is to blame, not because they did it on purpose, but because they're just such terrible fools that they allow dirty conditions to prevail that caused a virus to evolve on its own, and they should be called out for that. But on the other hand, they didn't do it on purpose, and Trump is wrong to capitalize on it to amp up the trade war. Okay, and that's all. Goodbye.